You know my words will get you farther than confused Matthew will ever go. Give me a moment of your time, I'll tell you what's wrong with the show. I know what's good, what's bad, what's really bad. My face, it has no sign. Say hello to Confused CV. There are only two logical or indescribable aspects I can make about this film. Not only is this a sequel to one of the best films I've seen as a kid, but it also sets the grounds for how a subtle sequel should actually be made, though that isn't safe to say in the actual terms of today's standards. But for that, I'm going to take a quick look at the brave little toaster to the rescue and describe in full plot and detail about how this film stands out among less than what other films mostly stand out for today, even if I would be making some of it up. So first of all, we see that Rob and Christy are two main human characters who own all the appliances, while Rob, on the other hand, are planning their local anniversary, kind of a get-together or something like that. But the fact is here, since Rob is the one that owns all the appliances and is always busy with them, or busy with a few of them, he has somewhat forgotten about the anniversary. Yet we, the audience, already interpreted that he doesn't really know what the anniversary is. However, Christy suspects that either he may or he might not know it. But all this may come into play for the rest of the film. On the other hand, I can't say that Rob is absent-minded nonetheless. He just is a little focused on his thesis lately. And of course, they all live on a college campus and scientific labs about where they had the appliances, as well as a couple of animals there left. So as we go, we are then introduced to the main characters, of course. The toaster, the electric blanket, the vacuum cleaner named Kirby, Lampy, and the radio. Of course, all of our five main heroes from the first film. They're all sitting around in detail, plotting, unlike most real people would, about how the master mostly seems to be ignoring all of them except Lampy. For instance, the lamp has been the only one who's going back to the master's dorm and then posing as his lamp, therefore helping him to come into terms about what use he could be when the master isn't finding the rest of the appliances any useful. And I find that this is actually a very subtle point for the whole plot here. As we see the college, Lampy continues to make his way all the way down to the campus without being spotted. I wonder how he does it. And so he gets back to the master just like that. Now, of course, we are introduced to a trio of other animals as well. First of all, there's Ratso the rat, somewhat of the antisocial jerk of the group, yet I can't call him an antagonist nonetheless. As of everyone else, Ratso, on the other hand, only thinks mostly of himself lately, while doesn't appreciate the fact that most of the other appliances and the animals are always waiting for the master, and that he always hears them bickering about it. Yet we're also introduced to the other animals as well. Maisie the cat, who is also taking care of her three kittens, but solemnly forbids that Ratso be the first thing that her kittens see when they first open their eyes. But this, in all terms, comes into play very differently by the end of the film, but I won't give anything away. However, Maisie is actually a very kind cat, yet she's only very protective of them, and I find that this is a very strong plot point. While Ratso, on the other hand, isn't harmful, he just wants to be reasonable. There's also Alberto, the little chihuahua, who broke his leg by an unfortunate accident when he was playing around on the highway. That isn't until the master found it. Yet he doesn't also appreciate the terms of attitude that always come about whenever Ratso comes into contact with him or having a conversation. This I find that only makes them more three-dimensional. There's also Murgatroyd the snake, who was attacked by a mongoose in the backyard. That is when Rob the master found him and located him back. Now, as we're introduced to the rest of these animals, everything here, all their plot points start to develop more gradually than just having them all just be thrown at us, or so it may seem. And then finally, we're introduced to the elder of the group, a chimpanzee named Sebastian. Sebastian is quite old, but he too is very much on the kind ratio of intelligence. He injured his paw a while back, and the master managed to find him, and fix him up. But he also has fears about going back to a certain laboratory about where he got those scars, and in which this may come into play later on with the plot. And then as these characters are all introduced, you might think, well, it might be a little odd to have a bunch of animals interacting with all these household appliances. But this all right here is actually to the film's credit. Watching all these appliances have meaningful conversations with these animals just adds another layer of subtlety that this film has to offer. This isn't really just any bright, cheerful, kid-friendly show that you would see on Nick Jr. or Jetix or anything like that. It's actually a subtle animated film, mostly for all ages, genuinely all ages, so that all of them have to be a compass and know all of these characters' gold. Then finally, all of the characters manage to speak out, even in song, about who they are and where they came from and how they got there. When all of this actually comes full circle, we know that what each character wants, or how they're going to get it, or let alone if they already have it. And I found that this is where the writers were actually the strongest to actually start it off. You may have gotten a little bit fast introductions from the first half of the film, but at least it has some good build-up for the rest of them when they're being shipped out and somewhat plotted by someone's scheme. But yes, I will stop it at that point. Yeah, we all learned actually mostly what these characters have to offer, and then finally it all actually works out very well. For this, it all comes into term down, and then finally they all appreciate the one master that all took care of them. And so that's about all I would have to say for this film. And so peace out, and as always, long live good animated movies. And if you might want to go check this out, you can.